Hello there, I'm Jack, and tonight's topic is cyclical wisdom. Sounds a little weird, I know, but basically the way I see wisdom is seeing cycles. So if we understand what cycles are like, then we understand what wisdom's like. So as we go through life, we experience certain things. So we engage in a relationship, an experience, or something like that. And we're doing that because we have a feeling we need to be there at some point. So what happens is that we go through that experience and we start seeing something, we start understanding something about life because something happened. It was good or it was bad, either side of that duality. So we have a feeling about it. And there are many different kinds of feelings, I understand. It's not just good and bad, but those feelings are what we learn. Going back, after we've learned those feelings, we see the lesson in those feelings. We see what those feelings can do. We see where those feelings can lead us. And so once we start seeing this process of beginning, body, and end, we understand that full cycle. From beginning, it's energy all the way to the end. So it's seeing both sides of that experience, that lesson that we learned. The good things and the bad things, we understand the ups and the downs, but most importantly, we understand the intensity of that experience and of that lesson. So the intensity deals with the type of cycle that it's in. If it's a very long cycle, the intensity is much more, but if it's just a daily cycle, let's just say it's an everyday thing, that cycle is very short and it's not as hard, it's not as intense, to feel the ups and downs. So we can just look at the stuff that we do daily and we may feel up or down, good or bad about it, and we can take it or leave it. We understand that we have that wisdom about that particular cycle. But then there are cycles that go for lifetimes, and those are very intense. Those are ones that really get us going, and it almost seems natural for us to act the way that we do. How some people say that's just in their character, they're always going to be them. Jack's always going to be Jack, But basically what they're saying is Jack is going to be that particular or he's learning that particular kind of energy and experience. So, yes, Jack may be Jack right now, but I'm just going through the cycle, and this cycle is much larger and much more intense, which is why I guess I have that core essence throughout my life. But really, it doesn't have to be an infinite core essence. That doesn't mean it's always going to be that way, because everything's curved. So it can go any which way. But basically, the main point of this video is to show cyclical wisdom. So like I said, once we've experienced and paid attention, that's another important part. Once we've experienced and paid attention to the beginning, body, and end, we have that sort of wisdom. For example, a common cold. If we pay attention, we understand when our body starts feeling that infiltration of a virus, or basically a being that we don't want in our body, because they are beings, cells in our bodies are beings, blood cells are too. So essentially, it's just a fight between two beings at a cellular level. So it's a conflict. So basically, once it comes in, we understand that conflict of, wow, something's here and I just don't feel right, and then we see the body, which is we're in bed for days and we just can't get out. It's hard to eat, things don't taste, we can't smell, whatever the symptoms are. And then the end, coming out of that. So we sunk into it and then we came out of it. So that's the finish, and it's that point, it's that day when we're like, wow, I feel normal again. So that's the coming out of it. But here's the thing, if we don't pay attention to the full process, the beginning, body, and end, then we have to go back and we're going to end up learning that same thing again. We're going to end up experiencing that same thing. So let's say I didn't pay attention to when I actually started feeling ill. Let's say it just smacked me in the face. I woke up one morning and I just could not move. Basically, I just wasn't paying attention, to at least my body leading up to that point. So yes, some things can smack us, but if we're not paying attention, it can really smack us, So there's always a sign leading up, that's what our intuition's for. So if we use our intuition in that sense and pay attention to those things, we can see that process, before it really gets there and gets heavy. But that's what we need to go through at that time, and we need to go through it at that intensity. So that's why we, some people it takes 3 cycles to learn, 3 strikes you're out type deal. 10 strikes you're out. There are 10 cycles in there. What if there are billions of cycles? Let's just go crazy. What if there are billions of cycles, that we experience over lifetimes? Yes, I'm talking about reincarnation. So what if there are life lessons that each life we go through and we have this feeling and we go into that feeling and that experience and we learn that lesson, but we didn't quite get the whole grasp of it, and so then we had to go back, let's in another life, because these are decades long, these experiences, they take decades. So you can fill in the blanks of what kind of experiences those are, but I feel particular energies in me that are so deep that they could not have just been this one lifetime. So that's what I'm talking about. I feel that wave is so big. That curve almost looks flat, and that's why it looks like Jack will just be Jack in that sense. But really, it's just like a bug walking on Earth. It looks flat because the grade is so small, but it's still curved. And so that's how I feel about cyclical wisdom. But if I expand my consciousness to actually see that full curvature up and down, then I have a greater wisdom and I have a greater understanding of how to go about those experiences. Let's say for that common cold. If I understand the beginning, body, and end, I understand exactly I don't say exactly, but a good understanding, a good grasp on what's actually going to happen. And so from there, I have more choice in what happens after that. I'm not bound by this cold because I understand its beginning and end. And so basically, I don't have to let it do what it wants to do with me, because I can say, now I have control, I have power, I've been with you before, I've experienced you before. So I know that process from beginning to end. And all of us have this wisdom. So that's something that I want to make note of. We all have this wisdom, but we have to go through certain experiences in order to gain that same wisdom in this part of life. So yes, we understand that beginning, body, and end in one part of life. Let's say it's the workplace or something like that. Let's say it's in athletics or sports. Let's say it's in writing an album. Let's say it's in writing a book. Let's say it's in making a video. So we understand that beginning and end, and it can be many different kinds of beginnings, many different kinds of ends. But that's what we do. We go through life and we experience those beginnings and ends, those relationships, those positives and negatives. So that's energy. And there are many different kinds, and there are many different frequencies. So that's where the cycles come in. I mean, I won't get into what energy looks like, but a 2D version of energy is just up and down. If you were to pull it in 3D, it'd be a spiral. And so that's why I say cyclical wisdom. But it's all the same thing. So I know I just kind of crammed a lot in there right at that moment, but I hope you can take something away from this. Please subscribe. That's always welcome. So, and comments and questions. If there's anything that didn't really seem to click, or I just went over too fast, or maybe let's say you have a different view on that, I'm inviting that. Please let me know. Let me in. let me in on it. So let me gain some more wisdom, your wisdom. So that's what we do. We experience things and we gain the wisdom. So, and there are many different ways to experience life, and so there are many different ways to have that wisdom and to see that wisdom in all these little pockets of life, because there are many pockets, almost infinite amount of pockets. So thank you once again. I appreciate it, and I hope you enjoy this. So.